Alrighty, it's time for water. So first things first, we have Ash. 2 CP, EX Burst. When she enters the field, you activate it forward. Beginning of your attack phase, you can return Ash to your hand. So there's nice things here. Repeatable reactivation is really interesting for exactly Alice the Ensorcelled. I think there's just not a really efficient way of doing that. 2 CP to reactivate Alice and get the swing for an absolutely ludicrously powerful effect is really cool. If you're willing to pay 2 for the reactivation by itself every turn, let's say that effect is worth 2 CP. I don't think it is, but for the sake of argument, I'm going to say that it is. You can replay this Ash. At the beginning of your next turn, Ash will activate. And then you can tap Ash, and then go do the attack phase and return Ash to your hand, right? Doesn't work with Alice that way, but it is a thing you can do, right? Also, that means that you can use her in main phase 1, bounce Ash to your hand in the attack phase, and this Ash now worked as 3 CP this turn, which is cool. The name is unfortunate. It would have to be... The job is great. It's nice that she's back to being a princess. She's no longer a queen. But you have to find a deck that wants reactivation, that wants to run the princess engine, but does not want to run the forward Ash. It's a very, very slim margin at this point, I feel like. But, yeah. Interesting card. Wall. This card is hilarious. 2 CP 9k. Can't attack. Can block with this, which is going to be very relevant to limited. Special. For just a copy of Wall and tapping himself. Choose a forward, deal at 9k. Can't be reduced. It's not going to see serious play, but in limited, you could definitely stack a bunch of walls and have fun. 9k 2 CP, that's going to be hard for your opponents to get around, and then that also just can kill things if they don't deal with them. Should be a lot of fun. Aerith. 2 CP Cat 7 backup is nice, especially in water for Andrea Rodea. Tap, break, add a light card to hand. Yeah, I think it's okay. For a common backup, I don't think there's really that much more you'd really want to see. So, certainly better than the other water common FFEX backup we have this set. So we'll take it. Sagao. Sagao is 2 CP, has back attack. When he enters the field, choose a category 6, gains 1000 for every category 6 you control. And then 1 tap, put him on top of your deck and shuffle it, and then draw. I really like the flavor of this card. Gao literally jumps out at your opponent and then returns to the Vate when you want him to. I think that's like super sick thematically. As far as the actual quality of the card, he is fine. Reminds me a little bit of like a Sonin. Because you could go like in the same way that you could with Sonin, this like lets you like function as a combat trick. He's an emergency blocker. He always at least blocks as a 5k if he has to. He can just choose himself. That's kind of nice. Could be really fun because you can back attack this in and then also now cast the Leviathan summon from this set, which would be really cool. Do I see myself playing this card? I don't think so. We'll also say that Gao is not a super contested name. You're either losing the Crystal Generator, which I think is a bad card, or you are losing the Monster Resurrection card, which is good in exactly Leo and nowhere else. So, yeah, I think it's a cool card. It'll see some play somewhere, I think. Clavet. Again, Clavets don't use axes, they use a sword and shield. Come on, Crystal Chronicles, get with the times. 4 CP, when enters the field, draw 1, discard 1. This should have been draw 2, discard 1, or draw 1, keep it. So, I don't love that. And then if you pay with 3, your opponent gets Famfreted. That's fine. She's not going to see any serious play, but do love my Crystal Chronicles, so we'll take it. Sapphire Weapon. I think this is the only decent weapon. Unfortunately, decent is not going to cut it here. If you have 5 or more, which is a lot, it's reduced by 5. And then when it goes from field to the break zone, you draw 2. So a free card that when it dies draws 2 is really good. I said before I like Kefka, and I mean it. This is kind of like Kefka in that way. I kind of like the thematic that when other weapons die, he gets cheaper. That's really cool. There's just no other good weapons, and there's not a really good there's no good way to just bin a bunch of weapons to the break zone. You can't just like painful choice, send 5 weapons, add Sapphire Weapon, and then just win the game on the spot, right? So part of me wonders if there's a way to like get 5 weapons and then just continuously like kill Sapphire Weapon and resurrect it. But I think that's just not ever going to be a realistic thing. There's ways of doing that are better, so unfortunate. White Mage. This cycle is really good. This one's no exception. Damage 3, draw a card. It's a free backup. Bounce opponents forward. No restriction on timing. I think something that's really, really underrated against Wind exactly is when you're playing against Wind and you know they're going for their big turn, you do anything you can to interrupt that. I do not care what it is, you find a way to stop them, right? They go to Chocobo back their Luso. You bounce their Luso for them so they don't get the draw off a Chocobo, right? You're really just looking for ways to try to interrupt them enough to where their casts get awkward and they lose it, right? I think it's a lot more fragile sometimes than it seems when you do things like that. I think this gives you the ability to do that. Stops aggression in that way. Great card. I think this card is really, really, really good. Again, I think every single backup in this cycle is really powerful. So, Strago. Oh shoot, Facebook. Why? Here we go. On his little motorcycle. When he enters the field, he puts the field in the break zone. Reveal 4. Add a category 6. It's on EX as well. So he's lid for category 6. It's a good place to be. And then a special, choose a forward, loses 2k for each point of damage you've received. This gets relevant at damage 3 and gets really good at starting at damage 5. Yeah, he's just good. I don't know what more I really should say. He does have a little bit of competition now with the backup Strago, just because the backup Strago can revive Realm, and anything that revives the new Realm is really good. But I think it's an interesting card, and I think it's the first generically good Strago. So we take those. Sanctuary Keeper. Beginning of your attack phase, activate a forward and gains 2,000 power. Say hello to the reactivation that Alice the Ensorcelled has needed. You now get to turn Alice the Ensorcelled into a 3 CP upfront investment that then gives you a 2 CP forward that has 9k power and fanfret to your opponent every time she attacks. Is that consistent enough or good enough to play 3 Sanctuary Keeper, 3 Alice, and then 3 Maquis the Phantom? I don't think so, but I'll give it a shot, see what I think of it. It's during each player's turn as well, so this is another potential buff for the Princess Sarah forward. You can always choose your own Princess Sarah now and draw. So this turns Princess Sarah into Lakshmi during your opponent's turns. That's always nice. Especially if you then like blanket with a Porum, so that your Princess Sarah is a 9k blocker. That's kind of fun. Yeah, interesting card, cool card. I don't know how much play it'll see, but curious to try it out. Sophia, beginning each of the attack phase during each of your turns, your opponent has 1 forward, lose 2k power. This card is going to be meh in limited, so definitely not constructed playable. Titus, this is a good EX burst. It's either a bounce or a draw. Kind of exists for the Yuna in this set, it feels like. It's also very funny that it feels like they went out of their way to make that Yuna good in limited and then didn't go out of their way to make the Lightning work or the Golbez work in limited, but there are worse cards people have played specifically because they have an EX in their corner. And I'll just leave it at that. So this will probably see some play at some point if the name clash isn't too bad for it. Tonberry. They learned nothing. They have learned literally nothing. Yeah. This card is so gross. I've explained before that like the thing that you do in mono water is you just set up 3 blue worms, and then when your opponent has less life remaining than you have blue worms, you wipe the board, animate the blue worms 1 by 1, and then you just conga line them in 1 by 1. And if your opponent threatens you before then and you're about to die, you animate a blue worm as a blocker. Say hello to the next blue worm. Or blue worms 4, 5, and 6 anyway. Except this one, now your opponent doesn't want to block, so if you want to just animate this and use it as a forward with Death Touch, you can. Your opponent also just can't attack you when you have one of these stupid things on the field. I can't believe this isn't restricted to, like, your turn. No, you can use it as a blocker. You can pay 2 CP, and your opponent can never attack you for the rest of the game with a forward that matters. Ever. Your opponent swings in a Furion. Animate Tonberry, block. Furion dies. Man in black. Swing man in black. They now have to cast a summon off that man in black, or Tonberry kills the man in black on the spot. Arciella. Tonberry doesn't care how much power Arciella can give somebody. Arciella dies. Like, there's very few cards that I kind of go, what the hell are they thinking? This is a card that makes me go, what the hell are they thinking? And it is a common. Somebody's going to stack about 8 of these in pre-release kit. I guarantee it. And they're just going to win the game by just going blue, or Tonberry, 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 Tonberry. Ludicrous card. Yuna. 5 CP Famfrit. Famfrit is barely good enough at 2 CP sometimes. So this will see no play. Joseph. Actually, a card that surprised me. So the first line of text doesn't exist, but in the Mono Water Twins list, this actually has a really good potential to be in that list. Cheat in a Furion is really nice. And then also, this is kind of like having a second Furion. It's a 9k draw card on attack. I think this card is really good. So, I think if it only just said play Furion from your hand onto the field, it would see play. The fact that it has to do other things is really cool. Yeah, how's it going, Osha? Larsa. When Larsa enters the field, you may discard to search category 12. This is now a better searcher for Vaughn than Marrowweb. And that's about the only utility for this card. Really would have liked to have seen an EX burst. If you got to discard anyway to get the search, they might as well have done the Elfie thing and let you just discard. But yeah, it's fine. Searches Larsa, searches Vaughn. That's about the main thing it does. So Leviathan, this card is really good. So it's got the same thing where the water forward entered your field. It is free. Except it's not free because you'll probably have a Yuna, so you're going to have to pay 1. choose a forward opponent controls, return it to your opponent's hand, and then your opponent is locked out. So I think this card is maybe the answer that Mono Waters wanted for Storm. So now your opponent plays a Luso, and then they go to Chocobo it back, and then you Leviathan it back for 2. They can't play the Luso again. That's kind of the intended utility here, I think. And I think that's probably good enough to try to see play just because it fixes maybe a bad matchup for Water. Yeah, I think this card is really, really good. We'll see a lot of play. We'll see how right I am by the end of the set. Ruffia. This is our random Warrior of Light legend from the set. Beginning of your attack phase, you activate all your Warrior of Lights. If 4 or more are activated, you draw. And then if you can dole 4, you get to stack an opponent's forward from top or bottom of the deck. If you can find a way to get 3 Warrior of Light backups onto the field, this is really good. I think the one that makes the most sense for me is like an Earth Water. You need 1 more Warrior of Light forward, because you can go Lunith, or not Lunith, Ingus and Kryl for backups, both of which are essentially 2 CP Earth backups. And then play this Ruffia and then like any other Warrior of Light card. And you have the full combo. I think you have to find a way to get the backups down for this effect. Like getting 4 Warriors of Light for a draw is not like you should win the game if you get 4 forwards onto the field of a specific job anyway. That goes for the second effect as well. I'm really low on this card in part because I was really high on Ferris, and I think Ferris is maybe one of the most disappointed I've been in the Legend in a long time. That card just never lined up very well for me. I think the new Ferris is just not good, and because of that, I'm really worried about this Ruffia. I don't think it fixes the problems that make like a Water Fire Warrior of Light list work, because now you have the same issue of like you want to play enough crystal stuff so you can play a good Lena in the list, and then like the Ferris never lines up well, and then Lunith, like Ferris is like decent, but it doesn't lead to a board wipe enough that like I feel confident with it. And then like now you have like more removal, which is nice, and like instant speed removal, but it's like how much of it do you need? I don't know. The art's really cute. The card is interesting. It's cool. I don't think this is good in the current state of the game. And that's it for Water. So I'll be back with Light, Dark, and Multi-Element.